What's up, guys? As you know, I'm zapped from the Entrepreneur Center. I'm missing you all so much. We have so many cameras off today. Maybe you can peek out and say hi at the end of this event. Anyways, still hosting the virtual events, but just so you know, we are open. We actually have a hybrid event tomorrow about using influencers for your marketing strategy. So if you do want to stop in and socially distance at our event, we'd love to have you. Otherwise, you can join virtually as well. Today, super excited to have Rob here to talk about, honestly, the topic that everyone begs for all the time, and I can never get enough speakers, sales and selling. So he is here virtually, technically from Indianapolis, right, Rob?
Yep, there you go.
So leveraging these virtual times to mix it up, get new speakers in, especially to talk about a topic I know everyone is always thinking about, especially now. Anyways, super stoked. Rob, I'll let you take it away.
Sounds good. What's up, everybody? Hey, first things first, as we've already experienced today, my primary camera is not working. So I'm on my backup. Any of y'all who have these Jabra headsets know that they have latency issues sometimes, but it can't ever decide in a predictable way when it's going to have latency issues. So please, you'll know here if you haven't figured it out in about 90 seconds, sort of how casual I am, how casual my attitude is, how casual the environment is, whether I'm in front of a group or whatever's happening. Please, if I'm having latency issues with the headset, please just start shouting because it tends to be bad and not get better anytime soon. And I'll just go to the built-in internal mic, which is lower quality, but it still works and it's better than a headset with latency issues. So there you go. Please let me know because I can't hear. I don't get the response when I got latency issues. So today is systematic selling for entrepreneurs. So here's sort of how I do. Talks, presentations in front of unfamiliar groups. You guys don't know me. I don't know you. I don't have any clients among you, unless maybe a couple of guys from Boss showed up. What that means is I show up prepared to do a topic, and sort of the way that I make those decisions is, I try to prioritize what information, what content, what aha moments I could try to create that I think would be most relevant to you, but I'm not a mind reader. So I want to tell you, without doing, we had, whatever it was, 40 people register. I would expect maybe half of that to show up without doing 20 to 40 prep calls. I'm not sure exactly what to cover other than my experience, with early stage entrepreneurs. So we're going to cover everything. But also what that means is if you have something that we should cover that would be most beneficial to you, I got to count on you to speak up, go to chat, come off mute, however you want to do that so that we could cover the thing that you want to cover. Or I'm going to move fast. So if I move too quickly off of a topic or you have a question or whatever, you gotta speak up, right? We have an hour. Virtual environments just aren't set up that well for as much back and forth as a classroom environment is. You gotta speak up, but I will cover everything, not literally everything, but I'm gonna cover a lot and I'm gonna move fast. So anyway, what you can expect from me is that we're going to move fast. You probably won't latch onto everything that we talk about or that I cover today. Here's always what I want. And this is kind of the standard that I hope you hold me to, is this lessons learned standard. I didn't start the company that I work for, Lushin, but my base salary is $0 a year, right? I'm not unlike you guys. Like, my time is very valuable. I use my time to, I'm either doing what I want to do and spending time with my family, or I'm, making money. So for you to set aside 60 minutes to invest in me and in our conversation, I take that very seriously, right? I take that as a monetary investment. We didn't charge you to come here, but we basically did because it's 60 minutes of your time. And so what I expect you to get out of the session and what you should hold me to is 1 to 7 lessons learned. And the lessons learned is basically, you know, those moments when you're consuming coaching training, or you're reading a book or whatever, where it's like, I didn't know that, and that's useful information to me, right? We know that how the human brain works, that in the next 53 minutes, you're not going to get 53 minutes worth of content. I'd be lucky to get you out of here with 4 or 5 or 6 lessons learned. But the idea is to get you out of here with 1 to 7 things that you didn't know when you got out of bed this morning, that you could directly attribute to the time that we spent here together. Okay, so that's kind of the gold standard when I get in front of groups of people. And what that means is that I'm prepared and I will give you opportunities to take home the lessons learned. But then what I have to hold you to is that if whatever I'm covering, you're not getting the moments out of it, you have to help me create those moments. And you do that by coming off mute, turning on your camera, going to chat, you know, that kind of stuff. Now, if the content is getting it done, then we'll roll with the content. If the content isn't getting it done, then you got to come off chat and let me know what you need. Okay. Cause I have a fair amount of experience, with, small, medium-sized businesses, entrepreneur. I've done a lot of coaching, a lot of training. There's just no way that we couldn't spend time together to get you something that you didn't know, right? I just fully expect that to happen. Also, in addition, there's no point in learning stuff if we skip the practical application. So not just the lessons learned, but the how to apply. And then lastly, sales is, well, one of the things that we'll cover here early and probably cover often is that sales, your approach to prospects is socially really counterintuitive, is what works. Excuse me. We tend to approach prospects with social intuition, but what works, the reason that doesn't work is what works is counterintuitive stuff. So I'm going to give you some ideas and concepts where you're going to go, really? Okay. I promise that's going to happen. Right. If it was intuitive, you'd already be doing it. Right. So if you're going to learn something today, I'm going to throw stuff at you where you're going to go, really? Does that work? Right. That doesn't mean that I'm nuts. That just means that, you know, I'm getting you to expand your thinking and what you know and what you believe. Okay. So if you feel challenged, or if you feel like, whoa, is that for real? Like, that's good, right? That we're where we need to be if that's happening. Just so you know. Now, a couple of assumptions that I'm inherently making here before when I'm in front of this group is that like some of you probably are already great at selling. Some of you are just starting, so maybe not so great. Okay. And I have stuff for both of these groups of people. Okay. So great if you feel like I'm talking down to you at some points, because what we're covering is too remedial. Remember, we probably have some beginners or maybe some technical people that just do not fancy themselves as salespeople. But I got stuff for you too. If you listen, I got stuff for you. Okay. Also, what we're going to cover today only works if you have viable product that deserves market share, right? Which I assume you do, but you have to have viable product that's deserving of market share. All the strategies and tactics that I cover means that you've got something good and you deserve market share. I can't fix a bad product. Like sales can't fix a bad product, a product that the market rejects. Okay. So probably sort of goes without saying, but may as well say it. And then you're a competent human and you're a smart human, right? But you're consciously incompetent as it relates to your sales competencies or skill sets. Okay. So you're a competent human being. You're a smart person, smart entrepreneur. Maybe you're a great leader, you know, stuff like that. But you're consciously incompetent when it comes to sales. And incompetence, of course, is a spectrum, right? You might not be fully incompetent, just maybe 28% incompetent, but there's some incompetence when it comes to sales. And I know incompetence kind of sounds like a strong word, but basically there's stuff about sales that you don't know yet that you could learn, right? and you are aware of that, right? I don't have any luck getting in front of rooms of people who go, I don't think this guy can teach me anything, but let's see. I don't have a lot of luck with folks that show up like that. I've got plenty of luck with folks that go, I don't know everything. I'm always open to new stuff. So that's my assumption. Okay. I'm going to spend the next 45, 50 minutes giving you guys, the $750 an hour stuff. I'm giving you the real stuff here. I don't hold back. This is not a sales pitch for my book, right? This is not a sales pitch for some course. I'm not teasing and then pitching you a course for the rest of it. I'm giving you the real stuff, and any questions that you ask of me, I will answer fully and completely. But what I'll tell you is that I have masterminds. Part of my practice is I have masterminds for entrepreneurs, for those just starting out. I have masterminds for entrepreneurs, for those who are on the other side of profitability and who are scaling. I have a lot of clients, small, medium-sized businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs that are just closing deals. So, of course, I approach you all, and there may be opportunity for me, assuming that at the end of this you go, man, that guy knows what he's talking about, and maybe we should talk further. And that's to be transparent. You'll get an email from me after the fact. Hey, would you like to talk further based off what you heard today? If not, no big deal. And I will not spam you and market to you. But if you want to talk, that's what I get out of getting in front of you guys today for without charging a fee. Just so you know. And that's the last piece of sales pitch you'll get from me today. First topic, the trust deficit. First topic, if you're ready. So what kinds of I never know what to expect in front of a group that I've never talked to before. I don't know what kind of participation I'll expect here in the chat box, or for any of you to come off mute. But here I'll challenge you, and then I'll make my adjustments over the next 45 minutes based off what I get from you now.
I'll start calling on people, Rob. Don't worry.
Okay. So what kind? And this is not a trick question. Be honest here. What kinds of adjectives, what do we think of when we think of the word salesperson, or when we think of a generic salesperson? What kind of stuff do you guys think about? Slimy, aggressive, greasy, annoying. No one said sleazy yet. Pushy, sleazy. There's sleazy. Car salesman, pushy, outgoing, inauthentic, scripted, go away, talkative. Wish I didn't have to be one. Melinda being super honest. Correct. So I've asked this question 100 different times in front of 100 different rooms full of people, and these are answers in order of most popular. Good for you guys. We have 100 answers here, right? Zap, you didn't have to call on anybody. You got a good group here. Perfect. So salespeople, our belief system around salespeople are sleazy and dishonest. And you guys, where does that belief come from? These adjectives that you got to very quickly, I didn't have to push you very hard. Where does that come from? Car sales, film, bad apple, right? So Justin, yeah, right. Experience, James, correct. Experience, right? Your life experience with salespeople has given you this belief system that salespeople are slimy, sleazy, dishonest. Correct. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And people are saying cars, right? Perfect. You know what's hilarious is I actually have some clients who are in the car industry, and these dudes just refuse. All my clients are sell straight, right? That's what we teach, right? Straight selling, really honest. No manipulation, right? I teach all that stuff. But man, these guys, they think that they're inventing these terrible moves that they use. It's like that industry. I'm trying to get them to be better, and they just kind of are refusing to do it. Okay, so because of this, salespeople are sleazy and dishonest. Here's how they behave, right? They only care about themselves. They'll lie, steal, cheat, pillage, and murder for money. And lastly, very, very pushy. Which really pushiness is very uncomfortable, will not accept a no, and put tons of pressure on the word yes, right? They're always selling tell me yes, tell me yes, tell me yes, tell me yes. Okay. Fair enough. So here's the thing, because of all of that, right? Your prospects are just like you. That's their collection of life experience too. Like everybody in this room virtually, our collection of life experience of salespeople is overwhelmingly negative, right? Your prospects are no different. Okay. So because of that, they don't trust you. It's not your fault. That's just the way it is. And those of you who have no experience selling yet, go to market knowing that your prospects don't trust you. Those of you who have some experience selling, go, oh, that's what's happening, right? Starting to connect the dots. Oh, that's what's happening, right? So let me tell you a little bit about the typical prospects buying process, and I'll keep it quick because I got a lot of stuff to get to today. I'm gonna tell you a little short story about my wife and me. The last time we went and bought a car. It was like 5 years ago when my now 6-year-old was young, and it was like, I never wanted an SUV. I always valued fuel economy, right? I valued fuel economy, never wanted an SUV, but she's kind of talking me into it. She's like, we have the kid now, and we'll take trips and need a bike rack and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I got it. So I go to Consumer Reports, and Consumer Reports says you could buy the Forester by Subaru, you could buy the Mazda, like the 7 or whatever that size SUV is, and there's a BMW X5 or X3 basically that Consumer Reports was recommended. So I told my wife, I said, drive those 3 and let me know what you think. And the BMW was immediately out because for the price point, she didn't feel it was very luxurious. So we looked at the other 2 cars, right? So here's the story to illustrate the prospect's typical buying cycle about our experience with the Mazda guy. So we show up to the Mazda lot, and I hope, like a lot of you, I have a very fast buy cycle. I make decisions very quickly, and I'm not afraid to spend money, right? A lot of you might be the same way. If you're not that way, hopefully I could talk you into becoming that way. My wife is the opposite. She struggles with decision making. So I had to really warm her up, and it was like, hey, so we're going to drive this one Mazda. If you like it, we're going to buy it. If you don't like it, just tell me and we'll go buy the Force. Like, this shouldn't take 4 hours, right? And she's like, yeah, sure. Great. Perfect. So we show up, we get out of the car. The Mazda guy runs out of the office. You've seen them, how they do. They kind of look like they're walking with a corn cob, stuff, because they can't actually run because that's unprofessional. So they just sort of like walk fast, like mall walk. Anyway, the dude comes over and he says, hey folks, how can I help you? And what does my wife tell him? You guys know? Go to chat. What do you think she said? What do we say in every retail scenario when someone shows up and goes, hey, how can I help you? Just looking. Correct. Correct, right? She wasn't just like, we had a really clear objective. It's like, we would like to test drive this car. If we like it, we're going to buy it. If not, we're not going to buy it, and we're going to go buy a Forester because she already drove the Forester and liked it, right? Now, I know you guys don't sell cars, and you probably don't sell in retail scenarios, but you'll find that what's going on with her buy process is the same as yours because it's the same as mine. Prospects tend to start off, and the first thing out of their mouth usually is a lie. Like, my wife couldn't even help it, right? The guy took off, and he goes, well, just let me know. I'll be right over there. And I'm like, honey, what happened? And she's like, I don't know. I got nervous. I panicked, right? He showed up and I panicked. And I'm like, well, you want me to tell him, or do you want to tell him that all we got to do is drive this car and that's all we want? You tell him. Okay, right? Now, since what I sell is not a car and what you guys sell isn't a car, it's not about test driving a car, not test driving a car, but our prospects show up and they'll like, for instance, in my world, they'll mislead us about interest. They'll mislead me about their budget. They'll mislead me about sort of the competitive landscape, what I'm up against. Oftentimes, the primary decision maker will just send decision-making toadies out after information, right? And so their decision-making toadies don't actually have valuable information to share with me to help them actually, with the proposal that they need, right? So prospects show up, and their first move when they're confronting salespeople is to lie or mislead, okay? Then we finally get the Mazda, we get in the car, we take a test drive, and all bad salespeople are like this car sales guy. And what do they do the whole time when you're with them, right? It's like they just can't shut up, right? So this guy, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you about how great Mazda is. Let me tell you how terrible Subaru is. Let me also tell you how bad BMW is, all of those things, right? But what's my wife doing the whole time? Like, she'll take the information because it's free, right? Let me tell you about the pricing scenarios, how MSRP or whatever the hell that is works. Let me tell you about, what deals we have. Let me tell you about the brake system. Let me tell you, but she'll take it because it's free, right? She'll take it. Now, again, you guys aren't selling cars. The free consulting that most of you all do is actually more costly than what this guy did, because a lot of times we're sending proposals to unqualified prospects. They're asking us questions. They're taking our proposals behind our back to competitors, vice versa, all of those things. But the second thing that prospects are going to do, they show up and mislead, and then they want what you know, right? They want what you know, and they want it for free. Now, why do they want what's in between our ears, you guys? Why do they work so hard to get what's in between our ears? What do you think? Where are my chat heroes at? Leverage, so they don't have to. What else? There's a big one. There you go. There you go, Michael. Because it's valuable, right? Because there's value. Let me steal what you got, right? Let me steal what you got because there's value in it. And also, their life experience with salespeople is that salespeople are not helpful. Salespeople do not assist me, right? Salespeople are here to rob me. Okay. Now, the reality is that great consultative salespeople help prospects fix their belief system, help them shift their paradigms. All the meanwhile, maybe we'll educate them along the way, but we're helping them qualify us. We're qualifying them. We could be very useful, right? Like, my prospects always end up in a better place once they buy from me than where they started. But they don't show up that way. They show up thinking it's a fight. They need what we have in between our ears, and we're trying to get their money, right? And it's a fight. Yeah, leverage. Justin says, because we are smart. All misspelled. I guess you spelled we right. Anyway, okay. So test drive's over. Test drive's over. We're back. The guy gets out of the car, asks a stupid question like, what do you think? And what does my wife tell him? What do you think? What's my wife say? What's the classic answer when a salesperson's trying to close you? Maybe. It was great, but I'm not sure. Yeah, there you go, Michael. That's the one. I'll think about it. Yeah, there you go. So same thing with Martin. Think about it. Think about it. The rest of the answers are also correct, but it sounds like, yeah. But you know what? What does this think about it though? The second lie in the prospects buying process, which is step 3, is always a nice sounding, right? It's always like, I really like it. It's really good. Got a lot of value. Appreciate it. Never met somebody with so much experience, right? Let us think about it. There's always this positive spin on it, right? Which is hilarious because so my wife tells this guy, hey, you know what? Let me think about it. Let me think. I really like it, but let me think about it. And then what does she tell me as soon as we get in the car out of his earshot? I don't like the rear visibility. Let's go buy the Forester. Right? Tells him, you got a good chance. We're probably coming back. Then tells me, and then guess what? Like 80 minutes later, however the hell long it takes to close on a car these days, we're driving off in a Forester. Okay. So this is Saturday. On Monday, Tuesday, my phone's ringing. I pick it up. It's Mazda guy. And I'm like, hey, why are you calling me? And he's like, Rob, it's the strangest thing. I've tried to call your wife 4 times, emailed her 94 times, texted her 3 times, and I just can't get her to return my message. And I was like, here you go. Hey, buddy, you want the good news or the bad news? He goes, well, I'm an optimist. I'll take the good news. And I said, well, here's the good news is that she's working, the typical 4-step prospect buying process on you. It's only 4 steps long and you're in step 4. Oh, okay. That's good. It's almost over. Yeah, it is almost over. You're in step 4. And he goes, well, I guess I'll take the bad news. And I'd say, well, step 4 is that she's hiding from you and you're never going to talk to her again. Right? So step 4, but probably not the step that you wanted. Okay. So I know you guys don't sell cars. I know that the story doesn't translate perfectly, but how many of us have been here? How many of us have been worked through this system by prospects? Okay. Now, the thing is, right, wrong, or indifferent, these are the expectations, right? These are the expectations that you should show up with. Prospects' collection of life experience of salespeople is inherently negative, no different than yours. This is how they buy. This is how they're going to buy you. Not because you deserve it, right? But that's just the way it is. So the prospect and salesperson's social relationship is different than basically any other, right? You guys know good faith, difference between good faith and bad faith. Okay. I will go outside and talk to my neighbors. It's always good faith. I'm telling them the truth. They're telling me the truth, right? I go to parent-teacher conferences for my 6-year-old. I'm telling them the truth. They're telling me the truth. I go to Starbucks, order a drink. My drink doesn't have shards of glass in it, right? Good faith, good faith, good faith, right? It's like 99% of our social relationships are good faith based. I'm in good faith. They're in good faith, right? Selling is so difficult because we show up in good faith, they show up in bad faith. And they win because we just give and give and give and give, and they're in bad faith, right? You guys, my mother is 65, school teacher, just retired, quilts, right? I have so many. If you guys need any coronavirus face masks, she quilted like 9,000, right? And sent 8,480 of them to me, right? Like very typical grandmother, like you got her pictured, right? The last time she bought a car, I showed up with her. I forget what the scenario was, but she was very clearly lying to the salesperson. And I was like, Mom, you just lied to this guy. And she's like, Robbie, he's a sales guy. It doesn't count, right? It doesn't count. This poor guy is in good faith. And my mother, who never has lied to anyone in her life that wasn't a salesperson, right? Just shamelessly lies to this guy constantly, frequently. Okay. So prospects don't trust us. It's not our fault. It's not our fault, but our entire approach has to be with that in mind, and we have to be dealing with it, right? And I am actually a crazy optimist. I think human beings are almost always achieving below their potential. I think the world is overwhelmingly good. I think most people are overwhelmingly good, want to do good things for each other. I am a crazy optimist, so I apologize that your first 20 minutes of experience with me is with such cynicism, right? But it's just so true and meaningful, and you have to see this paradigm, right? If I can influence you, if I could help you sell more stuff, right? You got to see this paradigm, because so much of, like, if this was series 1 of a 100-part series, so much of part 2 through 100 would be working within this paradigm, right? Working within this good faith, bad faith paradigm that prospects show up in. All right. If you guys comments, I'm just going to take a second here to make sure that there's no questions. And Zap, just interrupt me too if there's questions that we need to get to. All right. So a salesperson, so I call this the trust deficit. A salesperson's ability to neutralize that trust deficit is very, very, very predictive of their likelihood to succeed, right? So your ability to take that paradigm, neutralize it, get your prospect in good faith as soon as possible is incredibly predictive of your likelihood to succeed. Okay. So with that being said, let's get on. Oh, great. I'm doing pretty good on time. Let's get on to some real tactical stuff. Okay. So I'm done with the, for now, I'm done with the buyer seller dance, as it's called, and let's move on to some other stuff. So let's talk about a buyer's journey. So regardless of what you sell, who you sell it to, sort of the journey that your prospect goes through, you know, before they buy from you and you collect some money. So let me ask you this. What do your prospects have to think or believe before they buy from you? What do they have to think or believe? This is not a trick question. This is seriously not, I'm not trapping you here. What do they have to think or believe before they buy from you? Okay, Joe says trust. Max, no one sold her the face masks. She made them out of like just cloth. I was in good shape before everybody had face masks. When there was a shortage, I was in good shape, man, the whole time. And they fit really well too. She's pretty good. Mutual trust. Jess says they have a problem, and Jesse, excuse me, I will add meaningful. The problem has to be meaningful. Sarah says trust, of course. James says tangible benefit. Kevin, so Kevin says not just meaningful problem, but belief that you can solve the meaningful problem. Yes. Sarah says value. Melinda brings the competition into it and says, you know, if multiple people, if the belief is extended to multiple places that the problem can be solved, that you are a better fit than other people. Yeah, not bad. Not bad, because I think you're all right. I don't think any of these are wrong. And then we got some like. David and Michael will say like, look, you guys, I'll take it all day long, but I prefer trust over like, which is a whole nother topic that we could probably do for an hour some other time in the future. But I'll take trust over like. So here's, to me, is the buyer's journey. Hopefully this is big enough. So the prospect says, I have a problem. The prospect says, not only do I have a problem, this problem is impactful. And basically the critical mass of worth solving. Okay. It's problematic, right? Because we all have problems, but this is critical mass worth solving, you know, before they ship you some money. And also, it takes more than money to buy us, right? It's like money, change, opportunity cost, time, effort. It's more than just money. I have a problem. This problem's impactful. I'm committed to fixing it. Okay, now that's a big one because most people forget this one. Okay. I have a problem. The problem's impactful. I'm committed to fixing it. I'm able to spend. I'm willing to spend, right? So money is actually 2 steps. I believe person X or company X understands my problem. I believe company X has the expertise to fix the problem. So when you think about anything that you've ever bought, you went through this journey, whether you did it consciously or subconsciously, whether the salesperson involved worked you through any of this or they did not, all of these things happened before you made a buying decision. Okay. And when prospects buy from you, it's the same thing. Now, really great consultative salespeople just make these things happen consistently, systematically, every prospect they get in front of, and they're not afraid to disqualify prospects or to push back on prospects who want to skip steps. Right. And if I can make systematic selling as the stupidest, simplest paradigm that I can make it is that, right? Any prospect who's ever bought from you checked off all these boxes, whether they did it consciously or subconsciously, whether you helped them do it or you didn't. That's what happened. And really great consultative salespeople who could sell to anybody systematically and they have repeatable, improvable sales results, just do these things on purpose every time. They do these things on purpose every time. Now, real quick, one thing about groups like you all, and I'm making a sort of a sweeping judgment here, not having talked to a lot of you, or really any of you. oftentimes when somebody gets in business and they're an entrepreneur and they make their first couple sales, who are they selling to, right? It's typically their network. Whether it's you were with the company and a client at that company said, hey, if you did your own thing, I would hire you. So I break off from my company, do my own thing, get a client from the previous business. That client refers me to their inner circle, or people I went to college with, or people from the Entrepreneur Center. Like, we tend to sell to people who already know us. And here's why. Let's see. If they already know you, this stuff happens when you're selling to referrals without you really having to orchestrate it. And oftentimes this is the difficult stuff in the sales process. So those are, when you have referrals, you don't have to worry about this stuff. Also, referrals tend to come to us with this kind of self-awareness, right? Oh man, your salespeople aren't prospecting, or you're unable to get high quality opportunities in your funnel. You got to talk to Rob, right? If I'm making a cold call, a lot of times, I mean, there aren't a lot of companies who don't have the problems that I fix. They just don't have the awareness. So it's more work to get them. I have a problem. I care about the problem. I'm committed to fixing the problem, right? But when you guys get referrals, all of this is already done. You don't even have to worry about it. This is normally in the bank. And so largely it's maybe a little bit of this and then the money talk, and you got a client, right? It's super easy. So if you guys have ran into the issues of, I close all the referrals and introductions I get in front of, and I can't even get cold opportunities into my pipeline. I can't even get demos done, right? Or I get demos done and the cold leads, or the people that I prospect myself or that I prospect through networking, close nowhere near the clip that the referrals and introductions close. Well, that's why, right? Referrals and introductions show up and you got some freebies on the buyer journey that you don't have to facilitate, okay? Another thing here is that, look, any kind of paradigm that I show you, I know it's not going to be perfect, but for the most part, this is pretty universal. Hey guys, how's audio? My audio? We got one person without audio, and we don't know if it's just that person.
It's fine here.
It's good? All right. Okay, thanks guys. Okay, so here's a paradigm to think about too, is that whoever you sell to, whatever you sell, if your prospects fit into this pie, so 100% of your prospects fit into this pie, probably 3%, whoops, I shouldn't have zoomed in. I'm trying to get way too fancy. Probably 3% of your prospect pool is actively buying whatever you sell, right? 3% of your prospects are going to market, shopping for what you sell. Okay? 7% know that they need it and are thinking about buying it. It's on the agenda for the staff meeting on Friday. We got to buy whatever Vincent or Matthew or Donna or James or Deb, you know, whatever you all sell, right? So there's basically 10% of your prospects that are gonna buy you, whether it's you or your competitors this month. Okay. Yeah, you guys let me know if Max says I'm breaking up a little bit. If I break up enough, I'll just kill this and go to my internal microphone. It won't be a big deal. So please let me know. You spent a couple $100 on a headset, right? And you're like, I got the headset thing figured out. I guess not. So 10% is out there buying. So 30% of the market, they know that they have a problem. They have awareness and intellectual humility. I got a problem, right? But they haven't necessarily connected that problem to you or your solution, okay? Like there's all kinds of, I get referred to CEOs all the time. They go, man, we cannot hire good salespeople. I'm unsuccessful at it. And they're just kind of living their life, and they haven't thought about, man, maybe I could pay this dude from Indianapolis to help me with that, right? So they got the problem awareness and intellectual humility, but they haven't tied it back to me. That's 30% of the market. Another 30% of the market has the problem but don't know that they have it, right? So there's plenty of CEOs walking around on planet Earth that stink at hiring salespeople, but they might not know it. Um, um, yeah, you guys let me know. Let me know about my audio. I think I'm getting more noise about the audio. So they have the problem, but they don't know it. Okay. And then 30%, for whatever reason, just aren't going to buy. So we don't care about these people, right? They don't have the intellectual humility or whatever it is. Okay. So another thing to think about is that early stage, when you're referred to stuff, when stuff comes in on marketing, there's this 10% that's easier to sell to, but where oftentimes folks in your stage, um, businesses where we can make a lot of money that we're not making is this piece of the pie, this piece of the pie. People who have a problem and know that they have it, people who have a problem don't necessarily know that they have it, but are open to a conversation. You just have a conversation with them and they go, damn, I guess I got that problem. Maybe I should pay you to fix it.
I have a question on this, if you don't mind me jumping in.
Yeah,
So,
Danny, go ahead.
with my company, for example, we make a percussion instrument that drummers are buying. But I guess where I get hung up is the word problem, because we've got something that's super cool, and that when people realize what it does solve something. But if people aren't aware that there even is a problem, how do you overcome that more quickly to get closer to sales, if that makes sense?
How are you going to market? How much does your thing cost, and how are you going to market? How much does the instrument cost?
It's like 129 or 149.
Yeah, so it becomes an interesting like marketing to sales is like a spectrum where you go, okay, do we live here and we mostly rely on marketing to develop awareness? Like that's a thing that maybe you could market on social media versus, do we cold prospect or however we do that? I would have to kind of ask you a bunch of questions, I think, to have a meaningful comment, unfortunately,
Sure.
about that. But
Well,
does that make sense? Does that make sense?
yeah, I'm interested in how, like, with the problem, because there isn't necessarily a problem, but yeah, I think it's the word problem that I'm hung up on. But yeah, we can chat later on.
And look, I think there's also a spectrum that exists between problems and like sex appeal, right? Like no one buys a Tesla because they have a problem. They buy a Tesla mostly for sex appeal, and you can make plenty of money with sex appeal. And I'm being a little sarcastic with the word sex appeal, but you know what I'm saying? Like you can make plenty of money not selling pain based, that the consultative selling stuff. Most people live in the pain based consultative selling stuff to make money, though.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So anyway, and a lot of people like confusing marketing and prospecting is so popular in the year 2020 because marketing is easy and you throw money at it and you don't have to talk to people and put your feelings at risk, right? You don't have to face rejection. And there are so many people chasing after this 10% and worlds of folks just leaving this 60% where there's tons of money, leaving it to rot, right? So I hope I could talk you into taking more shots on goal at this 60%. And this 10% will come to you. This is the stuff you get good at selling and where you can make some money. Okay, so sales process and pipeline. Let me get into this just because if we're going to talk about selling systematically, you got to get a CRM, you got to get a sales process, you got to have a pipeline. A universal sales process, a universal pipeline. This is really bizarre. This froze. Hang on one second. Let me do this again. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry, guys. Slide froze. Here we go. All right, sales process and pipeline. Universal sales process and sales pipeline that works for everybody, whether you sell sales consulting and percussion instruments. 4 stages: suspect, prospect, qualified, closable. I'll go on to define these here in a second. And then close won, close lost. So a suspect is anyone who could buy what you have. Okay. Depends on the business that you're in. Some people have, like if you look at HubSpot, graphically, you know, or a table represented sales pipeline, columns and rows, suspects, prospects, qualifieds, and closables. Some people track suspects. You know, some people sell a thing where there's only like 20 companies in the country that could possibly buy their thing, or they sell to Fortune 100s, so there's only 100 companies in the country that could buy their thing. Or you could be like me and you don't track suspects because there's hundreds of thousands of companies who could buy me. I mean, I could be referred to thousands and thousands and thousands of different types of companies. So tracking suspects really isn't useful to me, because a suspect is really anyone who could buy what you have. So whatever that means to you. A prospect is a suspect plus they have an issue or an awareness of the issue, right? And they have an appointment with you. Okay. So if you're looking at a 4-stage pipeline, suspects here, prospects. Prospects are suspects who have an issue and awareness, and they're on your calendar. They have a conversation with you. Okay. A qualified prospect is a suspect who became a prospect, now also needs what you have. They don't just need it, they know they need it. They're saying that kind of stuff out loud, right? They have awareness that they need it. They have a compelling reason to buy it from you, which is a step that 99% of salespeople across planet Earth are not doing. That is a big differentiator between really elite level salespeople and elite level entrepreneurs who make a lot of money and people who just are skimming by. They have a compelling reason to buy the problem fixing thing from you. Ideally, the compelling reason is quantified, right? I'm a sales consultant, so it's very easy for people to quantify their problems, right? We're not prospecting like we should, or we're not closing like we should. We're closing at 30%, it should be 60%. Okay. Well, if you were closing at 60% instead of 30%, what would that mean to your top line and bottom line, right? You can quantify my help in terms of dollars, the problem that I fix. So ideally, if you could, marketing is all quantifiable. Consulting a lot of times is quantifiable. I don't know what what kind of products or services you have, but if you can quantify the compelling reason to do business with you, that's ideal. This person also believes that you're different. You've differentiated, which a lot of people we got to earlier. They got to like me. They got to know I'm different. Okay. So that's a qualified prospect. And then a closable prospect. Here we go. It's everything that a qualified prospect is, only add to commitment to fixing, right? If you're anything like, I've lost plenty of deals where they go, I've got a big fat problem and I hate it, but I'm not committed to fixing it, right? Rob, we suck. I hate it. We are so bad at selling, but working with you sounds hard, right? Sounds hard. I don't know that we're going to do it. My managers are kind of wimpy. I don't know that we're going to actually do what we talk about in training. Okay. So committed, difference. Want it, need it, committed. Has money, willing to give you money, right? This is one that we oftentimes screw up. Hey, they have budget. Well, that's great. Will they give it to you, right? It's great that they have money. Can you have some of it? Able versus willing. Has a decision timeline. We understand their decision-making process. We understand their criteria for to which they will make a decision. And everybody that makes the decision is assembled, right? So this is the decision step, 4 parts. Here's the money step, 2 parts. And commitment is still part of that consultative pain problem step. So a closable prospect is a qualified prospect plus great money step, great decision step, plus they are committed. Okay. And if you want to stage, if you don't have a pipeline yet, get one and use these 4 stages. And here's the criteria for these 4 stages. There you go. All right. All right. Let me make some decisions about what to do here and how to finish. And please remember, your prospects don't want to buy what you have. They want the end result of what you have. And the more conceptual your service is, the more important this is to keep in mind, right? Because think about the way that I go to market, the way that I prospect. I cannot make cold calls and go, do you want to buy sales training? Nobody wants to buy sales training. Nobody wants to buy sales consulting. They sure as hell want their sales problems to go away, right? But nobody wants to buy training and consulting, okay? So the more conceptual your product is, or the less sexy, the less fun it is. Like I have a client that is ERP. Nobody wants to buy ERP. It's like we got to get rid of our software and change all this stuff over. And then at the end, it costs me 150 grand. You know, no one wants that. It's conceptual. It's, but they sure as hell want the end result. And they want these guys to make the problems go away. So that's really important. Also, access, if we go back to my pie here, access to that 60% that we talked about separates, you know, the elite and people that are scraping by, is going to take a greater consultative approach, right? Salespeople are skipping these steps, these buyer journey steps. Salespeople that can't close deals don't know these steps and don't execute these steps. Okay. Let me give you just one quick thing about pain-based selling and consultative selling. So pain or problem, impact, personal impact, and commitment. Right. So in my world, and I know you guys don't sell what I sell to. What I sell, it's just the easiest examples to get to. But they say, you know, Rob, my closing percentage just isn't that good. And the inexperienced or mediocre salesperson goes, oh, I have pain. You don't. You know, you have the tip of the pain iceberg. Okay, what's happening because of that? Because of your closing percentage. Well, we're not closing as much as we should. Well, how much? You know, what is it? Maybe it's $50,000 a month. Let's pretend you were closing that extra $50,000 a month. What would you do with the money? Right? You're saying $600,000 a year. How many years has this been going on? How many years is it going to continue to go on? What would you do with the money? How does that impact you personally? Right? Why does this matter to you? And then lastly, tell me about your commitment level and fixing it. What do you mean? Well, believe it or not, I talk to a lot of CEOs with a lot of problems that they just don't care to fix. They're just not willing to do what it takes. Is that you, or are you willing to do what it takes? So you guys, all of us will have different, you know, the pain funnel, so to speak. All of us will put different issues or problems into this, right? Like closing ratio is not something that a lot of you are going to talk to your prospects about like I do. We'll all have different things, but we all have to get pain, impact, personal impact, how it impacts that person, and commitment. Especially if you sell to CEOs and presidents, a lot of times the impact and the personal impact is married. But if, like, for instance, if you sell to somebody who's in HR and they go, yeah, Rob, this problem costs us $50,000 a month. And I go, is that a lot of money? And they go, yeah, it really is for us. And they go, how does it impact you personally? They go, I really don't care. It's not how I'm judged, right? It'd be good if you could make my employees happier, right? So I hear something that sounds like a hell of a problem, but since I'm talking to an HR person, they go, I don't care, right? If there's no personal impact, then they're not committed, and I am not going to get any money from them. So, all right, you guys. We only have a couple minutes, and I have an interview calling me here in just 2 or 3 minutes. So, Zap, you want to get back on and like take us out, or?
Okay, I didn't know if you had time to answer a question at all, if you had to go.
Yeah, a couple questions. Let's do
well,
it.
We had some in the chat.
I'll be a couple minutes late. Yeah.
How did you re-engage someone that is hiding?
So this is one of those moments where you'll go, there's no way that this works, Rob. So someone that's hiding. So here's a quick little paradigm for you guys. Your prospects can be anywhere from 1 to 10 as it relates to you. 10 is, oh my God, take my money. I love it. When can we start? How do we get started? 1 is, I hate you. The idea of doing business with you is offensive. Never talk to me again, right? Prospects who are hiding normally are somewhere here, right? Like 4 to 6, 4 to 7. They don't hate the idea of you. They don't hate the idea of doing business with you. They just don't have a lot of urgency, right? That's why they go into hiding. I think we'll do it maybe next month. That we all go to bed with to-do lists that are uncompleted, and you just did not make the top 5 of their to-do list because they just don't have urgency. They're just sort of meh, right? Now, what most salespeople do is they stand up here and they try to fish for sort of non-motivated, non-committed, non-urgency having prospects. And they're like, hey, when should we talk again? When can we talk again? And we make it about the positive stuff. When can we talk again? When do you want to start? When can we talk again? And what we should do instead is go, hey, Mrs. Disinterested prospect, I sort of get the feeling that you just want to tell me no. You just haven't had the time, or you're just trying to save my feelings. Is that what's happening? Because you'll notice if you give your prospect back to the trust deficit, they don't like salespeople because salespeople don't take no for an answer very well. If I say, hey, Mrs. Prospect, are you sure you don't want to tell me no? Are you sure I didn't upset you? What she will do is go, no, Rob, it's not no, it's just that. And she will explain to me where she's at, and we could either get her to no, which saves me time so I could go find people who are more qualified to buy from me, or she'll give me what I could work on. Hey, it's not that I don't want to do business with you. It's just that I don't know that we could afford it. Oh, hey, thanks for sharing. By not sure if you could afford it. Walk me through that. What's that mean? So you go, hey, I assume you're not interested, and they'll come back to you with the truth if you do it in the right way. Cool. Thank you I'm glad that was helpful. What else?
We had another question from Joe about how you get to that commitment without pushing the customer to that compelling reason. Maybe Joe, you're coming.
Yeah, and you pretty much answered with that too.
That's what I thought.
So yeah, definitely just like, how do you do that without being pushy? And then do you have any book recommendations?
Yeah. Okay. So 2 things. So you could ask a prospect anything that you want them to do. Right? You could ask your prospect anything. Right. I have to talk to people about real personal stuff. I had a referral last week where she's the president, she's the boss. Her husband's the #1 salesperson, and he has this overbearing ego. And I was like, look, I got to ask you some tough questions. I had to ask her some tough questions because the relationship comes into it. You could ask your prospect anything you want if you have the right tonality and you're nurturing and you ask for permission, right? Haley, I got to ask you a really tough question. She says, go ahead. And I go, no, I mean it. It's really tough. She says, go ahead. She's really braced. At this moment, I could ask her whatever and she'll be okay with it. And then secondly, is if the reason, I think the #1 reason prospects hate salespeople is because salespeople are always putting pressure on yes and won't take no for an answer. So a really amazing pressure escape valve that you could use over and over again is, hey, tell me no if you want. Joe, I'm totally okay with you telling me no, but let me ask you this if you don't mind, right? Like if you're constantly preserving their right to tell you no, because they don't want to tell you no because they think you'll freak out like every other salesperson they've told no. So if you're constantly saying, hey, Haley, tell me no, it's not a big deal, but let me ask you a tough question if you don't mind. Oh, sure. I sort of get the feeling like you're not committed to solving this. Is that fair? Right? And they'll go, well, maybe you're right. Or no, I'm not. And they'll fight back. So it's make sure that you're always, and it feels like it should be, what do you call it? Like omnipresent, like the right to say no, but they don't feel like they have the right to say no. So you always got to preserve it. Hey, tell me no if you want to. I'm totally okay with that. If you don't think I could help you, just let me know, right? If you don't want to do business, if you don't like these questions, just let me know. And it gets them really comfortable right away. And books. Sales books are like so my favorite sales book, and I'm not a baseball guy, but it's Dave Curlin. It's called Baseline Selling. It's my favorite. He's in my business, and to me, it's the best like cradle to grave sales book. Because a lot of sales books are sort of have like a tagline, and they just want to sell the book, and then the content kind of sucks. That's my favorite. That's my favorite one.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
We're 2 minutes over, Rob, so I want to respect your time.
Yeah, let me see if this dude called. Well, go ahead. Let's do one more question. And if this
All
guy
right.
called me,
Aaron
I'll get
had
his
a question.
voicemail
I don't know,
call back.
Aaron, if you want to ask it or if you want me to read it. I can read it. Is having a decision timeline the qualifier for whether or not they are committed? And then kind of a follow-up question, how to push a prospect to establish a decision timeline if they don't have one already?
So the number one thing about decision timeline is please correlate it to their problem. Don't make it about buying you. So when are you going to decide whether or not you're going to buy me? Like that's not very powerful. And it's also me, self-centered. It's about, hey, we talked about this and this and this, and you were saying because of that, this is happening. Like, how important is it to you guys to fix this stuff? And they go, it's really important. And you go, okay, so like making decisions, implementing solutions like this month, this quarter. Yeah, we'll do it this month. Like make it about the problems they're trying to fix or why they're buying you, right? Saying, hey, can you buy me this month because we're having a sales contest and my wife's never been to Europe, right? Like they don't care about your reasons. But if it's when are you hoping to solve these problems, they go like right away. Oh, okay. That's the timeline that's meaningful. Make sense? Cool. Okay, guys, I got to bail. You are going to get like one email from me that's opt in, opt out. Hey, thanks for coming to the conversation. Would you like to talk to me about, did you have questions or would you like to talk to me about what I do? If not, no big deal. We don't have to talk. If you want to talk, then we'll grab time on the calendar. And that's how I'll end. So,
awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
so
everyone,
much for having me.
I'll send you those emails. Bye.
Perfect. See you guys.